Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Wednesday, May 7th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, is how today's video will be structured. When we go over my core picks, it's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher and 4 hitters. And that's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. For this slate, we're going to be leaning a little bit more on that past performance. So maybe some of these guys haven't been doing quite as well as of late, but they do have that good track record in the past. And then after that, we can move over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday's slate. In the morning, I'll be posting my early morning weather report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher listed down there as well. And then I will also be listing all these starting lineups as they do come out throughout the afternoon and early evenings. So definitely be on the lookout for that down in that comment section, especially as we do get closer to lock. But without further ado, we'll get started with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position. We got Michael Walker here at $8,300. He is currently averaging about 24.5 fantasy points per game. Goes against Chicago White Sox, who he does have really good history versus in the past. He had 4 starts against them in 2024, and he finished with 40, 52, 28, and 55 points. So 3 out of those 4 starts, very, very good. Even if we get the 28 out of him, at $8,300, probably not the worst thing in the world to happen, but we still want to get 36 points out of him or more if we get a quality start and a win and a solid pitching performance. That is very, very doable just in general. And if we look at what he's done so far in the season, only 1 win, but does have an ERA of 3.52, so pretty solid there. Once again, averaging about 24.5 fantasy points per game at $8,300. If we look at kind of what he's done as of late, there hasn't really been that big performance outside of that start versus Houston, but if he can go out there, if he can get the strikeouts versus a White Sox team that's not going to be throwing out the greatest lineup, should be a really solid performance for him overall. And then we're going to move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with catcher Jonah Heim. He's coming in at $2,800, averaging 8 fantasy points per game, goes against the Boston Red Sox. And Tanner Houck is listed as their expected starting pitcher. In his career versus Tanner Houck, Jonah Heim is 4 for 7 with 3 home runs, so pretty much the best hitter versus pitcher matchup in terms of home run potential. And he is currently on a 3-game hitting streak. 0 home runs during that time span, though. 1 multi-hit game, 0 double-digit performances, but does have 2 games of 9 fantasy points or higher. So at $2,800, we'll definitely take that floor there, but does come with a little bit of upside at the same time as well. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, .284 batting average, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,800. Then we're going to move down to second base. You can also play him at third base and shortstop. It's Luis Rengifo of the Los Angeles Angels. He's going against the Toronto Blue Jays and Jose Barrios on the mound. And he's done very well versus Jose Barrios in his career. He is 5 for 7 with 1 home run versus him. And if we look at what he's done as of late, it's been a little bit more hit or miss. 5 out of his last 8 games, he's had at least 1 hit. Only 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 0 home runs, only 1 double-digit performance, and only 2 games of 9 fantasy points or more. So the floor is definitely pretty low with Luis Rengifo, but if he goes out there, if he hits a home run, if he steals a base, gets on base a couple times, could definitely pay off. And it is a really good, attractive matchup based on his past history versus Jose Barrios in the past. Obviously, if you don't want to play him, definitely do understand that. He does offer us a little bit of flexibility as well as a cheap price tag overall. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, .221 batting average, 1 home run, 9 RBIs, averaging just over 5.5 fantasy points per game at $2,400. Then we're going to move down to shortstop, and this is kind of our one pay-up option in the core picks for today. It's Bobby Witt Jr., $4,200, averaging just under 12.5 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Chicago White Sox, and Jonathan Cannon is their expected starting pitcher. He's 3 for 7 versus Cannon in his career. If we look at what Bobby Witt Jr. has been doing as of late, it's been really, really good. He had like a 24-game hitting streak going until like 2 hitless games, but the last 2 games have been really solid once again. Both them multi-hit games, both double-digit performances, both over 20 fantasy points. So definitely do like the upside of Bobby Witt Jr. once again. He's coming in with a .310 batting average, 4 home runs, 19 RBIs, averaging just over 12 fantasy points at $4,200. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers, $2,900, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game. And he goes against the Boston Red Sox. Tanner Houck, once again, is that expected starting pitcher for them. He's fared really well against Tanner Houck in his career, 4 for 8 with 2 home runs. However, Adolis Garcia, not the greatest starts of the season for him, a little bit more hit or miss as of late. He has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 6 games, 0 home runs during that time span, although the 3 games that he does have a hit all have been multi-hit games, 2 double-digit performances during that time span, and he has 3 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So when he goes out there and he actually hits as of late, it's been really good. However, it's been a little bit more hit or miss if he actually goes out there and gets those hits just in general. But if we look at what he's done so far in the season, .236 batting average, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, once again averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,900. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you got $14,400 remaining. $3,600 remaining per player, so definitely a lot of room and flexibility to pay up for a star player or two if that's something you really want to do. If you want to do a little bit more of a balanced build across the board the rest of the way, definitely feel free to do so, and you can get to some very good players at the same time as well. Obviously, once again, if you want to pay up for them like Luis Rengifo, you can definitely do that as well. Definitely a couple options out there on a little bit smaller Wednesday slate just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for that slate overall. We're going to start off with the Baltimore Orioles, and they are going against Simeon Woods Richardson. Not a lot of history there in the past, but definitely do expect some high-end upside out of that Baltimore Orioles lineup. Though on the opposite end of the game, kind of do like the Twins. We'll see who ultimately ends up starting for the Orioles. Right now, it's kind of projected to be Charlie Morton, who was transitioned to the bullpen, pitched a couple days ago. So even if it's him, looks a little bit more like a bullpen game just in general. And Twins team have a little bit of decent history versus him. Could be Dean Kramer. Just kind of depends on how that looks. So when it comes to that, I'll leave that starting pitcher down in the comments below. The Twins lineup's been very, very lackluster so far this season. Hopefully this is a good spot for them. Could be a decent leverage spot at the same time as well. And then last but not least, I do have the Texas Rangers going against Tanner Houck. Most of their hitters have hit him really well in the past, so definitely do like the upside to those guys being in my core. And, Tanner Houck's a little bit more of a hit or miss pitcher, and it seems like a lot of teams have started to figure him out in the recent years. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday, May 7th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Once again, in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report down there as well. That will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher, and then I will be posting as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening, so definitely on the lookout for that, especially as we do get closer to the lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. Unfortunately, did not get a video out for Tuesday's slate. Still wasn't feeling the greatest. A lot of other things going on, so I do definitely apologize for that once again. But I did leave my MLB DFS notes up on the Patreon page for free, so hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that. And then I have my UFL DFS video coming out once a week. Typically, that comes out on Wednesday. I think this week is probably more than likely going to be coming out on Thursday, so definitely be sure to look out for that as well. And then I'll be trying to do some type of NFL draft grades video in the very near future. Once again, that did kind of get pushed back with being sick, feeling under the weather, and everything else like that, so definitely do apologize for that once again. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user to any one of those three sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. It definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Wednesday, May 7th.